It looked amazing. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. Just going to go over some housekeeping as everybody filters in. My name is Nora. I'm one of the co-founders here at Rock Paper Coin, and community is really big to us. So please take a moment to say hello in the chat and just let everyone know who you are, where you're logging in from, what you do, and drop your IG handle too, so we can follow you and make new connections. And while you're at it, pick up your phone and follow us on Instagram. We're at Rock Paper Coin, and make sure you follow our amazing guest, Julie, as well. She's at Paper Slate.
Party
In
Slate.
your Paper Slate, Party Slate. That's a great
That's
start.
okay, close enough. I had someone call us Party Slave once, and I'm like, okay, that's not the name
Oh
of
my
our
gosh,
company.
so funny. For those of you that are new to Rock Paper Coin, we are a female founded and run tech startup. Our platform serves small business owners just like yourselves in the wedding and event world. And we provide invoices, contracts, proposals, and so much more in a modern and clean platform that your clients will love using and will save you time and money. So if you aren't familiar, you're not on board yet, feel free to sign up. We have a promo code for this webinar. It's RPC Unfiltered, and you will get 6 months free. So with that, let's get started. I'm so excited that you're here, Julie.
I feel
Julie
like
and
we could
I,
talk all day. Like we could
I
talk for 3
know.
hours. Yeah.
We've been friends
Don't
for a
worry, we
really
won't.
long time. And
Yeah.
I was trying to remember how we even first met, but it was so long ago.
I feel like it was one of the industry conferences like Cater Source, or I don't know which one. But I believe it was potentially could have been that Orlando post pandemic.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was a
you're
really
right.
rough conference right after the pandemic. I felt bad for them because we were in recovery mode, right? It was a
That's
rough
right.
go.
You're
Yeah.
totally right.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know Julie, she is one of the most well-connected people I've ever met. She is the CEO and co-founder of Party Slate, and that is a platform that helps venues, vendors, and all kinds of event pros grow their businesses by attracting new clients, referrals, and enhancing the digital presence. She has
I love
over
that. You did that. You did such a good job with
Oh,
our
thanks.
elevator statement. Yeah, it was great.
Julie has over 20 years of experience with digital marketing. So you are the perfect person to talk with us today. I'd love to hear your origin story and how you got into all of this.
Yeah.
Actually, I've never heard it.
Oh, great. Well, I feel like I've overshared it so many times that I'm glad you haven't heard it before. But I was really a digital marketing geek. I worked at digital agencies on and off for 20 years and ended up at a digital agency called Razorfish, where I had a team of 300
Oh, yeah.
people, and we built large scale websites and did search marketing for mainly Fortune 500 companies. But my secret love was events. I love doing recruiting parties. I love doing happy hours. When I was in my 20s, I was actually like a club promoter, like on the
Yeah.
side. And I made a lot of cash, like in the old days, $20 bills, where we would have parties for 4th of July. All of our friends would come and we'd make a couple $1,000s cash. I just
Amazing.
always loved the power of events. At some point, I was called the social mayor of Chicago. So I just really love them. But when in my work, I was really using events to again celebrate employees, like sales incentive trips, to have fundraisers, and I always was looking online. I was this digital person, right, working on websites, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. I felt there was a lot of dead ends on Pinterest. Pinterest was very new, and then there was kind of
Yeah.
wedding only blogs, but they felt, I was this technologist, this digital marketing person, that they were a little dated. And then I redesigned my kitchen using Houzz, Houzz. And you may ask, how is that relevant? I felt like lightning struck when I saw Houzz. I was looking at kitchens and bathrooms, and all of a sudden I'm like, why can't I look at galas, corporate events, weddings, baby showers? Why can't I have an experience where I look at all types of events? And so Houzz, using that for my kitchen, really, it was the turning point where I wanted to build something. You might say, well, how long did it take from the idea to actually quitting your high paying job? It was probably about 6 years, 5 or 6,
Wow.
before I had the confidence to quit my job, raise money, And, I was in my 40s, doing this, like I wasn't just like 21-year-old with a hoodie, like I'm gonna go build a startup. And after that, I'm like, I got to build this. I was inspired. I thought about it every day. I created a deck with my vision. I designed Party Slate in a PowerPoint deck.
No
And I
way.
actually raised money on my deck and my 25 years of experience in digital agency and SaaS world. And then I started Party Slate. So that's my founding story
That's
8
amazing.
years ago. Yeah.
So, did you hire a development team or what was
I
your?
made the mistake of hiring an outside development team because it took me about 9 months to recruit my tech co-founder, John, who I know you've met. And I spent a lot of money with an outside firm. And once John joined me as my co-founder and we hired our first developer, we trashed everything that they had built and we
Oh
started
no.
from scratch again. So that was my lesson learned is when you're starting a platform, you really have to have the expertise in-house. You have to have that core team. Once I had my co-founder who was tech and I was sales and marketing, that's when we really started the company.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's I think we relate in the non-technical space being a founder. It's
Yes.
so important to have someone that
Yeah.
really excels at that.
And you don't necessarily
Um,
need a co-founder, but having a lead
right.
developer that's on your staff that is passionate about your vision and that you're whiteboarding together and you're building this thing together. That is, I always tell founders, like you must have a tech co-founder. But I know
Yeah.
that's not the purpose of our webinar today.
I know we digress.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we're talking all about press and PR nightmares, which you have a lot of stories to share and some raw truth bombs for us.
Yes.
We've all seen how just like a single misstep can quickly snowball into like a full-blown PR nightmare. We've seen it several times in the last couple years.
Yes.
So, in your opinion,
Yeah.
this is a big question. What's the best thing someone can do if some sort of PR nightmare happens to their brand?
Yeah, I think we're very lucky that Party Slate has not had a PR nightmare. But again, working in the digital agency world, there's this concept of, crisis management PR. So what will you do if, you've got a client coming after you saw after that Beckham wedding, how those
Yeah.
planners were sued and like, I mean, that is a freaking disaster when you have something like that. So I think having a plan for angry, loud customer on social media. What happens if, someone sues you? Like, how do you, I think having that plan in advance of if this, like, these are the three likely scenarios to happen. What do we do if this happens to us? I think that's really important. So as an example, recently we made a change to our platform where the basic free profile, we want people to have a really great experience with Party Slate for free to get to know us. Now you can only post 3 events on our free profile versus unlimited. And that's something we need to do on our path to profitability. And we want to continue as a company. It's a decision we made. We were worried. We got a couple people that were angry with us that had more on the free profile, but we had a really great plan of action on a very low cost package to get them
Great.
back to unlimited photos. We were prepared. What if someone goes on social media and, talks about this change? We were prepared with the post we would make, not even taking down the comment, but how we would respond to it. So I think preparation is everything. You should have a plan. If you're a wedding planner, just like this Beckham wedding, if a client sues you and goes on social media, how will you respond and what will you do? And I think everyone's got a friend in PR. We can't afford to have a full-time PR person. Talk to your friend in
Uh-huh.
PR and you can even Google it, go to Chat GPT on what does a crisis management plan look like, and you should be prepared before something happens.
Yeah, that's a great.
And again,
I
it's
love
very
using
likely,
Chat GPT for that.
like, yeah, Chat GPT it. Why not? I mean, Mindy Weiss gets sued. Like people get sued. And preparing for it and how to handle it. You might be surprised that if you have the right plan in place, you can diffuse it
Mhm.
very, very quick.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other piece of that too, I think it's great to talk to your friends. Like, absolutely. They're probably
Everyone's got
talking
a
to you
PR
about
friend.
event
Everyone has a
things.
PR friend. Yeah.
But
It's either a
also,
former PR person or someone in the PR. Like you all ever, like I have a good friend who's a PR person and I ping her all the time.
yeah,
Like what should
totally.
I be ready for?
Right. But the other piece is you also have to know who to call if shit really hits the fan. Like, do you have an attorney that you can talk to? Do
Yes.
you have other people that can
Yes.
support you in a time of crisis like
Yes.
that? Because sometimes all you need is a cease and desist and
Yes.
it's taken care of. But by the time you find a lawyer, by the time they've blown you up on social media, it's
Yeah.
turned into
Yeah,
a
the other
whole
thing
other
that goes back
monster.
to before PR disasters happen is when you have an upset, and an upset is a combination of missed expectations or miscommunication, or the combo platter, as I like to call it, both. When you have that with an employee or a client, the faster, I know for you young people, you can get on your phone
Yeah.
and pick it up and diffuse and listen and active and like diffuse it, the less chance you're going to have that PR disaster with an angry client or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think that the key that I found in leading big teams, and I've been in client service for 25 years, is how to diffuse, is active listening, forget the long emails and the emails and
Yeah.
Slack, like text messaging and all caps, like get on the phone, do everything you can to diffuse the situation within reason. And again, sometimes there's just crazy people out there, and you got to figure out how you balance managing a crazy client, managing an upset client, with having a PR nightmare on social
Mhm.
media. It's really easy now. They don't need to get on
I
TV. They
know.
just go on social media.
I know. I think your advice is spot on. Picking up the phone and having a
Yeah.
conversation makes
This is something
such
called
a
a
big
phone.
difference. I know.
It can be used for calling. I know,
I
like my
know.
kids, like they don't call. Like teenagers, they only
Heaven
text.
forbid.
Yeah, you got it. You got to call. Yeah, and I learned in the early days of Party Slate that we're gonna make some mistakes. We're gonna upset people.
Everyone does.
We're gonna have a photographer that's angry about something being posted. It only happens like once a year, and we do a takedown right away. Um, I just learned to pick up the phone, learn, and sometimes I use it as a challenge. Like, how can I take an angry person and by the end of the call laugh with them and
I
laugh about
love that.
and and you'd be surprised if you make the time how often you can do that.
Yeah, and that person could turn around and be one of your biggest fans just
Yes.
because you took the
I have
time to
had
do that.
turnarounds. I've had people, angry photographers that said, actually, I'd like to be on your advisory board and
Oh
help you
my
decide what
gosh.
you're building. So I really feel like it's important to, again, any way you can get live contact,
Hmm.
FaceTime them, get on the call. Again, if they're really angry, because again, sometimes it's just a miscommunication. It oftentimes is,
Right.
or
Right.
expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, and having it all on paper or an email could also be used against you if
Yes.
things really
Yeah,
escalate.
don't
So
write anything down.
just talking it out. And a lot of people, depending on what the mistake was, of course, will give you grace if you
Yeah.
just own the mistake. But, you know, have giving excuses or yada yada, that's not going to get you very far. So being able to pick up the phone, talk to someone, say, we screwed up, we own it. How can we make it right?
Yeah.
Is a great first step.
Yeah, I think it's
Giving
like
me anxiety.
like a child that's having a tantrum. Are you going to try to teach a lesson during that tantrum, or are you going to try to diffuse, listen? Maybe later you can teach them a lesson, but in the moment, it's about diffusion and listening. It's not about trying to be understood. Like you're wrong, you're wrong. It's just listening, seeking to understand, and then be understood.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. You mentioned photographers. For
Yes.
many photographers, their business, it's their style, their personality comes through in their art. So they're really protective of their work. Have you ever dealt with, I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with angry photographers. So, and if so, what are some like common situations?
I think the only time we've dealt with angry photographers is in the rare case that they're hoping to submit their work to a Vogue. And again, I'm going to be really honest, it's 1 in 100,000 that you're going to
Mhm.
get in Vogue weddings. But if it is a celebrity wedding and someone by mistake posted it on our platform, just like we can't control what's posted on Instagram, like Party Slate, you have a profile page, whether it's free or paid, etc., that you post your work to. So let's say there wasn't coordination between the team. like there's the concept of an embargo, like, hey, we're not posting
Mhm.
anywhere, which I think is kind of funny because you have 200 people that are taking Instagram photos. And
Totally.
either way, that's an old concept of this embargo for like a Vogue weddings or, Martha Stewart. And again, I completely understand that. So usually what we'll do, if like it happens once a year, we have 3 million photos on Party Slate. It happens once
Oh
a
my
year
gosh.
where a photographer will be like, I didn't give permission for these to be posted. We'll explain, hey, just like Instagram, this is a user, pro generated platform. But we will, please reach out to the planner who we know you worked with to ask them to take it down. If you'd like, we could help facilitate that. Again, because it happens so
Yeah.
rarely
Yeah.
that we can do that. So literally that is the only time. When I started the company 8 years ago, there was still this concept of watermarks. And the
Oh
concept of
God.
watermarks has really gone away. Like on Instagram, if you post a photo with watermarks, you'll have like 10x less impressions and engagement. So watermarks are negative experience. It takes away from the art. So what we did on Party Slate is every time you post an album on your profile page, you credit all of your vendors. And I always say, put photographer first,
Yeah.
photographer, planner, venue, caterer. You decide how many, you don't have to put the tent company. You decide who you're going to credit. But I think the photographers have come to trust that every photo on Party Slate has a photographer credit. If we find a post that doesn't have a photographer credit, we will go back to them and say, please, I know this was an oversight. Can we help you add a photographer credit? So I think we've earned trust with photographers.
Mhm.
And what we try to share with photographers is we want to make the concept of sharing your photos easier. So when you post on Party Slate and you credit the venue, your work shows up on the venue page.
Love it.
You also are listed as a photographer that's worked at the Four Seasons, New York, as an example.
Mhm.
So you're getting this shelf space and your network is being exposed. So it's like 1+1=3 on Party Slate versus, on Instagram, when you credit, that's great. You get the experience.
Right.
You're not listed as a actual provider, a photographer or a planner that works at the Peninsula or that works at the Hilton,
Mhm.
whatever it is. So I think we've really earned the respect from photographers that they're always, and everyone, that we're going to get credit. Unlike Instagram,
Huge.
forget those credits. Like you're posting, like
Yeah.
I post without credits. Like Julie Party Slate is like my personal posting. When I post now in Party Slate, you can actually copy and paste Instagram formatted credits,
Oh, that's
the
great.
actual photo. So you can download the photo from your Party Slate profile, copy the credits, and post right away to Instagram. Now a post of one of our events, it takes like 3 minutes versus it used to take like 30 minutes. And
Yeah,
God
you
forbid
said
if I miss a credit, if I have the wrong credit, I hear from all over the country that you've missed
Yeah.
a credit. So we're trying to make digital marketing effortless because we know this industry works so hard. And the last
Mhm.
thing in their mind is, how am I going to get published? How am I going to get my work out there? Parties that created a place where they can share their work, build their brand, and hopefully grow their business through our platform.
What do you do if, say, a planner has uploaded an album of images and tagged the photographer and a handful of people, but for example, the signage person
Yeah.
wasn't tagged? Are you
Well,
able to, what do people
on
do?
Party Slate, you can request to be tagged.
Great.
So say that the photographer or the planner posted, but I'll be honest, it is up to them to decide who they credit. Marcy Bloom, a New York celebrity planner, she always likes to say, I don't need to credit the nail polish provider, like the who did the nail polish,
Right.
that's her Joe. So we believe at least the top, 6 to 8 or even 10. We credit
Mhm.
everyone that
There's
ever.
no limit.
We put 20, 30 credits because we want everyone to gain on
Yeah, that
Slate.
makes sense.
But I think if like they forget to credit you, you can just ask them, hey, I saw our work on Party Slate. Can you add a credit? One day
Mhm.
we'd like to build in a feature where you can actually like contact them directly through our platform. We don't have that yet, but right now you could, you worked them, you have our
Right.
email, so you can just ask
Right.
to credit it.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so while we're talking about digital assets, you have to share your hotel nightmare
Yeah.
story with the
Yeah.
missing
So
photos.
yeah, so we worked with a hotel, and I don't want to say the name of the hotel, like pretty well-known hotel that their intern had left, and like they lost all their photos. They couldn't get to
Oh,
their photos. It was like either on a
oh my gosh.
laptop or as password protected. They could not get to their photos. And I know I'm stating the obvious, and like all the photographers have cloud-based systems and everything, but you know, Dropbox, Google Drive, you need a cloud-based system.
Mhm.
You need multiple logins. You don't want to have it resting on like a junior marketing coordinator or something. You all need to have access to these. Our future vision for Party Slate, which we're excited about, is, once your photos are uploaded on Party Slate and everyone has a login, like let's say the venue managers every year they're rotating, doesn't matter. They have it all
Yeah.
in digital archive on Party Slate. And so we're building a new way to access your profile content through Party Slate Pro that's launching in a few months, where you can literally build an archive like a visual Dropbox. And we're having artificial intelligence, photo recognition. So if you need a
Awesome.
poolside reception, all your poolside receptions are going to come up. If you need all your events in Miami, all your events in Miami are going to come up. So it's almost like a visual modern Dropbox. Well, you will never have that hotel crisis again because they're all in one place. And like,
That's
I like
amazing.
Dropbox. There's nothing wrong with Dropbox. But once you've been in this business for 20 years or 15,
Yeah.
10 years, and then you do 10 events a year and you have 200, 300 photos, like, how do you organize it all in Dropbox? That's not just in your head, like a social media intern could be like, oh yeah, I know exactly how to find the right photo for Valentine's Day or the right photo for that proposal. We want to make that
Amazing.
effortless for you.
That's such a time saver. I'm so excited
We
for
want to
that.
be a time saver, and we want to be a place where you can really build your digital brand.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, your digital brand, part of it is Instagram. You
Yes.
have over 300,000 followers. You're crushing it. Your content is top notch. So I'd love to hear what your social media strategy is and what platform is your favorite.
Yeah, so for Instagram, that's definitely our favorite. We like, Pinterest drives a lot of traffic too, so
Mhm.
don't forget about Pinterest. But for Instagram, our goal is our Instagram is really our business to consumer platform. It's not necessarily like when I'm speaking or B2B. So I have
Right.
GE Party Slate, which is here all our parties and all the celebrity planners and and here's what's going on at Party Slate. So that's our business to business. So our business to consumer strategy is amazing photos from our premium members that are inspirational, but lots of times in the last frame, we'll actually show a picture of an image in our platform. We're doing this more and more.
Mm.
So we want people to know we are not a planner. We are a platform, technology platform that can help you get inspired, and you can find the best local event professionals across the country, hopefully one day across the world. So that's the messaging. So you'll see in our posts that will say something about this amazing event, but then we'll say, find the most unique venues in the world, blah, 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 on partyslate.com. And so our strategy is we want a lot of followers, we want a lot of engagement.
Mhm.
We want to funnel them to our website so that we can actually get them to our premium members and drive leads and inquiries.
Got it.
Yeah.
You glossed over this really quickly, talking about Party Slate parties.
Yes.
There are a lot of perks of being a member of Party Slate, but one of the best ones, in my opinion, are your like epic over the top parties that you
Yes.
throw throughout the country.
Yeah, we really, we used to call them launch parties because we would introduce ourselves to new communities, but now we really call them elevated networking events. Business is closed at these parties. So people, even if they know each other, they're running into it.
Mhm.
I have an event for you, or the venues that's hosting it. Oh, I have something I could host there. Like business is happening at these events. And what we hear from people, and maybe it's my party promotion days in my 20s comes in, that people come to Party Slate events that don't go to like association events. They're
100%.
like, all the luxury hotels are there, the like, high-end planners. And so being a premium member, you're guaranteed to get invitations to these events. And if you're a prospect, we invite you to kind of most of our events to check us out. And of course, we love the opportunity to tell you about parties membership after or before, but we use it as a way to build our brand, that our platform and our events connect people that help you grow your business, where referrals are so important to growth.
You'll see if anyone's paying attention to Instagram when one of your parties are happening, it's
Yeah,
blowing up.
it blows.
Everyone is
Yeah.
posting about the Party Slate
Part of
party
our
that's
strategy, a
happening.
little bit of fear of missing
Yeah,
out. FOMO is
totally.
real. Sometimes when I see these high-end, like fam trips and other things, I get FOMO. I'm like, I can't go to everything, remind myself. But we want people to know that our goal is to help connect people, whether it's through our platform, or secondarily through our industry events, to
Mhm.
help build stronger relationships, to get you inspired. And we also know you guys are always working so hard at these events, 24/7. We want you to be treated as a guest at
Yeah.
these events. You
Yeah.
get to enjoy the night, and that doesn't happen that often.
Well, I'm excited for the next one.
Yeah.
What brands or influencers do you admire for their social media presence? There's so many good ones.
Oh, there's so many. Who do you follow? Who do you like?
I'll tell you, my favorite is Birch. I love Josh. I think he's so
Yes.
great. He was actually our last guest on
Yeah.
here, so it was fun chatting with him. But I
Yeah.
think their social media, what I love about it is it's a great mix of personality. Like you feel like you really know their team, but you
Yes.
also see so much of their work. So it
Yes.
kind of hits you on
Oh,
both levels. I think it's
yeah.
just really
I
well
like
done.
the ones that are a combination of, beautiful work, but
Mhm.
also engagement with the
Yeah.
personalities. And so I think that's really important. And Josh does a great job. So, I mean, there's so many. I don't even know who I would even start with. I also follow like some female founders that inspire me, and
Yeah.
like Sarah Blakely, and
I
others like
love her.
Banks, like people. I think I want to do more of this, and I've said this for a long time, is the ones that add value in
Mhm.
addition to, like, it's great that I'm showing all these events and things that haven't been done and everything, but as a leader, and I do a lot of, like, mentoring of female founders, like, how can I infuse in my Instagram more valuable content? So maybe
Yeah.
once a week I'm adding, inspirational quotes, or I'm talking about, things I've learned or mistakes I've made and how I recovered, like giving an exposure to how I got to where I am through a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
learnings, and crying in the car after the 10th VC rejects you, and how I build myself up again. Like, I think being authentic and
Mhm.
really showing people how you've learned. I'd like to do more of that on my Instagram, and I admire women that do that, and men.
Yeah, I think you would do an amazing job at
Yeah.
that whenever
Yeah.
you
If I
start.
say it out loud, there's more chance I'll do it.
I'm going to ask you next time.
Will you
So
hold
I
me
love,
accountable for
yeah,
doing
of course.
that? Okay.
I love the accounts though the screenshot. I call them the screenshot accounts where they post little tidbits that you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yes.
such a great idea, or that's so inspiring, or whatever. I have a folder on my phone where all my inspirational
Yeah.
screenshots live.
I always like forward like really inspirational Instagram reels. I'm sure like my team is annoyed when I send. There's actually a funny Instagram reel about people that forward Instagram reels. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
I'm one of those
spot
people.
on.
Yeah. But when I learn something, or I'm inspired, or I'm reminded that, again, I've been leading sales and sales teams for, a very long time, that sales are the best salespeople ask questions and
Yeah.
listen. I get something that's so like on that, I do like forwarding those and saving those too.
Yeah, totally. So social media obviously has a lot of positives and perks, and they're kind of a necessity if you're a small business owner, but they can also be the source of a lot of stress with people
Yes.
not knowing what to post or when to post, and you know, inadvertently saying the wrong thing
Yeah.
and getting bashed on social media. So, do you have some strategies for like monitoring or responding to negative posts, or if what to do if you inadvertently post something that
Yes.
backfires?
And everyone will have this at some point, where you'll kind of like, oh, I think I wish I could have said that differently. And I
Mhm.
think the most important thing is, if you're posting, I like to say, at Party Slate, we are Switzerland. So not we are not a controversial brand. We believe in the beauty
Yeah,
of events, and we're celebrating your art and the things that the industry creates. And so we very rarely have a lot of negative feedback. But when we do, we have someone that's responding to those comments. We have a social media team, and they're responding. I think the challenge with people that don't have a social media person is, how do you stay on top of it? You do get notified, and you look at your comments from time to time, but I don't think it's as big of a problem if you're not um, a controversial, if you're using social media for controversy. And again, I believe you stand up for what you believe in. I think you just, if you're going to be putting your positions out there, you just have to be sure that you're prepared to respond to comments. And again, I've done some posts where I've lost followers. I'm okay with that. I've posted what I believe in. But for Party Slate's Instagram, we are about our brand is about celebrating, creating magical experiences and creating lifelong memories, and how this industry does that. And so we don't see as much negativity on our, only time we see negative is like if a credit's wrong, but we fix that in seconds.
Right.
If a credit's wrong, typically the credit's wrong because the pro that posted it had it wrong. We still get the black eye, so we fix that right away. But if you have made a mistake on a post, you can delete it. I have no problem deleting posts if there's something that hit someone wrong or whatever. Like, this is your feed. You get to do that if you want to delete it. But I would warn people not to be paralyzed about posting on worrying about what people think. Like, done is better than perfect. That's kind of a saying in technology world a lot. So it's more important to post consistently and getting, your name out there than it is perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially on those stories and things that are,
the stories disappear, and the feed is, we look at, as far as your portfolio and the work you do, is that, it's a triangle between your website, your Instagram feed, and, for us, Party Slate profile, people on average have 7 to 8 touch points before they contact someone. And we want these to be positive touch points. So really having a, beautiful feed is important on Instagram, but also know that people are going to look at your Party Slate profile. We're more and more page 1 for Google search results, and they're going to look at your website. So those are kind of the 3. Yes, TikTok, other things are important, but not as much like your portfolio.
Yeah. TikTok makes me cringe a little bit. I know it's so important, but
hard to ignore it.
I can't get on board. That's what our young team is for.
I have a young team focuses on that, but I'm telling you, with 3 teenagers, don't ignore TikTok. Warning.
So funny.
Coming. Yeah.
Okay, you know me, I love horror stories.
Yes.
You already mentioned the hotel that lost all their photos. Do you have any other great stories of different nightmares that you have crossed or you've crossed through Party Slate?
Oh God, I probably could be here all day talking about that. But we're very fortunate in the people I've hired and the team we have, that we haven't had any, lawsuits, PR disasters, knock on wood. Like we are a very authentic team. When we do something wrong, we admit we've done something wrong. We follow up as soon as possible to make it right, if we can make it right. But I do in the industry, I see the biggest thing I see in the industry is these client nightmares. And if you've been in this long enough, like, it's part of the industry. So if you do 20 events a year, you're going to have like 1 or 2, I would call them nightmare clients, and they're for different reasons. And so I guess my advice in, being in client service for so many years, building websites and working with big companies, is qualify as much as you can. You all have that instinct on, is this going to be a nightmare? Is this, is this going to be, and I know everyone wants the money, but I think the biggest thing I've learned in, leading a venture-backed business is saying no is as important as saying yes. And of course you want to take chances, but the nightmare stories I see are in talking to members that are having a very, very challenging situation with clients. So I think that would be the biggest advice. I think for us, I guess the biggest, thing we faced is something called the pandemic. So everyone, has faced this, but we're a platform based on events, and we had a government shutdown of our industry. And so what we did to turn around this very challenging situation is we hosted webinars every single week that added value to the industry. And we feel like we were one of the loudest voices during the pandemic. that was doing week after week. How can you build your network from home? How can you build your digital presence from home? How do you use this new tool called Zoom to connect with people? People were asking me like, how can you teach me how to use Zoom? Like this was the beginning of the pandemic. We had been using it for years because
Yeah.
of the venture business and doing meetings. And so I think what we turned a nightmare scenario into a brand building scenario is how can we help this industry for free?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't charge
Mm-hmm.
a dime. We didn't say it was member
Mm-hmm.
only. How can we help this industry do the things they should have been doing to build their digital presence? And now, for the very first time, they have time to do it. And so I think I might have cried on our first webinar. My heart
Oh,
hurt for people that were like, how am I going to pay? How am I going to support my family? How am I
yeah.
going to pay my employees? And it was really tough. So I think when you're faced with something that's so daunting, I feel like maybe, I'm not great at everything, but I think I am. Give me a good crisis and I kick in. I always say that about my mom. She's great during crisis. So I think during a crisis like that, that faced our entire industry, getting your team together. We had daily
Mm-hmm.
stand-ups on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do? Picking ourselves up. How are we going to survive? How are we going to help the industry get through this? And I was really proud that I've had some professionals say, like, your webinars got me through tough times because I felt
Yeah.
like I could do something productive. I said, get your LinkedIn profile right. Tough love. This is people find you on LinkedIn. Get your Party Slate profile going. What can you do on Instagram? How are you going to message people during this tough time?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get your actor on email marketing? So I used my many, many years of digital agency experience plus my smart team that's smarter
Mm-hmm.
than I am to add value. So I think that was one crisis and nightmare, I would say, that I'm really proud of how we handled ourselves and how we helped the industry.
It was pretty amazing what you did, and you all did it quickly too,
Yeah.
really before any other.
1 week, we were doing a webinar on how to build
Wild.
your network on. And again, it was not just self-serving parties late, it was
Right.
LinkedIn tough love. Like
Mm-hmm.
your LinkedIn profile sucks. Get your act together. Yeah. So like it was, you got to do this. Only 30 minutes time, you can
Mm-hmm.
turn around your LinkedIn profile.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to
Yeah.
touch it again if you don't want to.
LinkedIn doesn't get a lot of love from the wedding industry,
You'd
so
be
you're totally
surprised when
right.
you're about to meet someone. When I meet someone, I looked at their LinkedIn
For
profile.
sure.
I do.
Absolutely. I do too. And your team, you mentioned your team. Your team is incredible. I have loved every single person I have met on your team. They've just been so professional and wonderful and just lovely human beings. So
Thank you.
kudos
And your
to you
team
and
is
your
great too.
hiring team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks. I think so too.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we really like what you're doing. We are about top of funnel. We're about
mhm,
building your brand, getting your work, a strong digital footprint. We don't have the back of house. Okay, now that you have a client, really, how do you make the billing easier, the proposals easier? Like I am shocked when I get work with a high-end design company and they send me like a PDF of a
I
credit card
know.
form. Like I
I
just
know.
shocks me. Like it really, and like big companies, obviously hotels have their own systems and everything, but we really think that technology and platforms need to be embraced by small businesses to
Mhm.
help make all of their touch points better. And whether it's, their portfolio and their videos or their proposals, like it's just like, we need to embrace technology. And I know your platform is really easy to use. I like to
Mhm.
say my mom could build a
It,
party profile. She's 84.
that's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're out there and you're doing everything manually, you're not alone. There are a lot of people that still do it, but the amount of time and money you will save by digitizing some of this is insane. I was actually talking with this incredible caterer out of Chicago. They have like 50 team members. It's massive, and they write down credit card numbers, staple them to a BEO, and manually run them. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to change your life instantly. So there are so many tools out there like RPC and Party Slate that are easy to use, inexpensive, and will make a massive difference to your business, especially, a lot of wedding pros are down this year. This is a bit of a down year, and hopefully 2025 is shaping up, but it's a great time to really get on board with new software that can better your business and your processes.
Save time, get automated. And, what we found early on is we have a white glove service where if you don't want to upload your own photos, like sometimes people just don't want to do that. They're busy. And so, for a very, low cost, less than $1,000, social media contractor, for a few $100 a month, we'll upload the photos for you and we'll help you get your SEO going. And I, again, we're a technology company. I'm like, oh, we don't need services. I realized early on, this is the busiest industry I've ever worked with. We need to provide services. So customer success team will take all of that off your plate. And Mindy Weiss told me that, early on, Jules, I love that your team, posts for me. And I'm like, but it's so easy. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it ever. Like, okay, I'm gonna provide this as a service. Yeah.
Yeah. And for wedding pros, if there is not a deadline attached to something,
Yeah.
it's so easy to put off and put on the back burner, like, something like this. So I say take full advantage of the white glove services. Okay, we're getting lots of questions. So I have two more for you, and then we'll get into listener questions. What is some advice you wish you would have gotten maybe 1 year and 5 years
into Party Slate?
Party Slate.
Yeah. Okay, I'd say the first thing I wish I did is, half the company was customer facing. We're talking to customers all the time, and half the company was not on the tech and the product side. I think, we have a customer centricity pillar at Party Slate. Everyone talks to customers. Our finance people talk to customers. Our product team talks to customers.
Yeah.
I wish I did that earlier because I had such a good feel for pain points because I was talking to 6 customers a week, times 3, 4 years. And I think having everyone, even the HR team, talking to customers and understanding pain points is really important to building solutions for those people. So I don't know what you guys do on your side, but we're now starting to have developers shadow calls, listen to recordings, and really understand pain points and how technology can solve those pain points. So I think that's one thing I wish I did earlier, and I should have known to do earlier with my digital agency background. So never too late. We do it now. And again, product team is always talking to customers, but even having those developers that are not customer facing, listen either to recordings or join a call twice a month, I think is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I think, a lot of developers don't, or ours at least, don't have a ton of experience in the wedding industry. So when we give them these asks and feature requests, they don't totally get it. So to be able to interact with our members and see how it would change their processes, I think it just makes the product better.
Definitely. I think that's definitely one thing. And then I would say the other thing is, just lesson learned. I from day one, and John was advising me, my co-founder, to let's get like a little scrappy team together versus outsourcing. I wish I didn't waste $150,000 on my first version of Party Slate. That, I'll be honest, sucked. It was bad. I wish I didn't, but I'd rather I was a single founder, I was on my own, and I came to the digital agency world. I know how to manage them, but when you're building something new, you've got to have people that are vested and that are whiteboarding with you, working side by side, that are in it for the ride. And it didn't take me that long. It was like 9 months or a year before John started, and then that's really when we kicked into hiring our team.
Yeah. Well, don't beat yourself up. It happens all the time. So many software companies totally trash their first round. We got lucky with ours. We had a development team that came recommended by a friend of mine who also has a SaaS company. And we still have some of the developers, the original developers on our team today. And they're wonderful. And they know the code and the software like the back of their hands.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, one more question and we'll get to our other questions. What do you wish that the wedding industry knew about press and PR?
I wish they knew that the world has changed dramatically over the last, and a lot of people do know this, over the last 10 years. The hopes of getting in a magazine
Mm,
that is printed, dare I say, is, if you're paying for it, great. You're buying an ad, that's different. But to get in is very tough, because if you look at your own behavior of how many magazines you read, I still like my People magazines. Like, again, there's magazines out there I like,
yeah.
but to get into one of those coveted magazines, let's say there was 1,000 magazines 10, 15 years ago. Now there's 100 at most, or
Mm,
50 that are actually going to make it. And those few magazines, like a People or a Vogue, very difficult to get in unless you have a celebrity of some
mhm.
sort. And then when you get into that People magazine, many times you're not credited or mentioned. And so
Brutal.
you can maybe like make news of it. Oh, my event was in People magazine. You're not mentioned, but you can like share it on social and amplify it. So I think
Hmm.
that's always good. Like, I
Hmm.
was in Vogue, and like make news of news.
It's a big deal.
But the chance of getting in these magazines that, 90 magazine print advertising has dropped 95% over
Wild.
the last few years, the last, let's say 5, 6 years. And so
Mm,
therefore, very few are making money. And if they are making money, they're focused on their advertisers, et cetera. And that's fine. You can, if you want to choose to have an unaccountable advertising spend, yeah, I still think there are a few magazines out there that are thriving. So therefore, you have to figure out how you become your own magazine and self-publish. And so what we look at your Party Slate profile is you can get every one of your events published and found through Party Slate, through your website, through Instagram. And so I think you need to shift of like, how am I going to get published, to how am I going to get people to see my work and build my brand? I think that's a big shift. If you have that rock star wedding and you know that you got one a year, go for it. Try to
mhm,
get it published. You might have to hire a PR person. Like, it's not easy to get found for these like few reporters that are like still floating around that
mhm.
are covering big events. I mean, I think it's really tough. So if you have the money, great, hire a PR agency. If you don't, try to control your own publishing strategy. Have a great Instagram. Your website should be beautiful, and get your work on Party Slate. Get your work on other platforms where you think people will find you. Party Slate's not the only one, but
Mhm.
we have really focused on self-publishing your work and using SEO, search engine optimization, articles, social media to get you found. So we did have 3.5 million people visit Party Slate over the last 12
Wow.
months. Yeah.
That's a wild
And
number.
on track for
Kudos.
5 million this year. So
Wow.
really we are platform marketers. So when you
Mhm.
Google top event planners in Dallas, Party Slate's going to be page one, not for every keyword term, but a lot of them. And we are investing in Google, social media, and content marketing in order for people to find your work on Party Slate. So I think the PR shift is more about getting your work out there, getting discovered
Mhm.
versus getting in a magazine. And if you can hire a PR person, you can afford it, amazing. Go get those few placements and then make news of news. So even you get a local blog, you get a local magazine, put a square on your Instagram. Like, I was just featured in, XYZ,
Yeah.
wedding magazine or whatever. So make news of news. And we even say when you publish on Party Slate, you can make news of it. I was featured in Party Slate. You got to
Yeah.
build your own brand, make
Totally.
it happen yourself. Like I always say when I speak, I don't care if it's a small conference, thank you so and so for having me as your
Of
keynote
course.
speaker. Make news of it. Make your own news.
You're so good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting a lot of questions about vendors that are struggling to get photos. They are not the
Yeah.
photographer. How do they get the photos? What are your tips?
Yeah, I like to call this photographer stalking in a not a violent way, but a friendly way. And so what I've found with photographers is you gotta kind of have, it's like you're asking for the photos. This is not their full-time job to like send out photos to the bakery, to this and to that. So number one, we want to make it easier on Party Slate, like getting photos through crediting on Party Slate. So
Mhm.
that's number one. But number two, I would, when you email the photographer, you can say things like, hey, I think you forgot to send me the link. I just need the highlights. I don't need something custom. They already have the highlights.
Right.
And so don't create something custom for me. Just, send me your highlights. So don't create work for them. Number one. And number
Right.
two, you could say things like, hey, I'm going to be posting this on Instagram and Party Slate. I will be sure to credit you and make sure I have your Instagram handle, blah, blah, blah. Like, so, make it
Yeah.
kind of like, again, they should be sending it to you anyway. But if you're like, I hate to say it, but like a second tier vendor, like they better be sending it to the planner or they're never going to get hired again. Okay, so
Right.
like the planner and the venue, I bet you anything. But if you're the rental company or you're the blah, 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 just tell them like, hey, send me the highlights album. I'm going to post these two places and I'm going to make sure to credit you. Why wouldn't they send it to
Oh,
you?
totally, totally. It can be like pulling teeth sometimes
Yeah,
though.
but
So
make it,
know
market
your
yourself.
audience
Yeah, why don't you
too.
just dangle like, hey, I might have a client. I might have a client to
Yeah.
refer to you. I mean, like, hopefully you do, like you're not making it up, but you
Right.
should, market yourself as a person that's connected. You could even drop the planner's name in there. Yeah, I've worked with, Chris Weinberg many times. She said how great you guys are. Like, I think dropping the planner's name perks them up because guess what?
Right.
Planners refer business,
Right.
venues refer business. So name drop. And I think the good photographers understand that they need to get their work shared. So we are going to solve this problem for the industry. We really want to make it easier for you to get your photos from photographers through Party Slate.
Hmm.
We're working on
I
it.
love it. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read this next question. I am in the process of refreshing my website and branding. From your perspective, what kind of images are clients looking for on my website and socials, behind the scenes, about me, events, family? Every
Yes.
vendor I ask has a different answer, so I want to ask the expert.
Yes. I think the most important thing to answer that question is, and I've had a whole webinar on this, have a one-page digital marketing strategy of, and it really actually comes back to business strategy on who is your ideal customer?
Mm.
What is the profile of who you're looking for? And to answer that question, if it's corporate events, it's different images than high-end
Right.
destination events. So once you understand, like, these are the three profiles of my ideal customer, my ideal buyer, then what's important to those people. So if it's destination, you're going to want to show your destination photos. You're going to want to show,
Right.
island and this and that. If it's, I really want to do more weddings in Mexico, you got to show that you've done those events in Mexico. And those are the type of photos. So I think I can't answer the question for that person, but if anyone, I'm Julie at Party Slate. I can send you a template of of the 5 questions you must answer to understand who your ideal customer, your ideal client, your ideal buyer is. Once you have that in mind, you need to build your experience around them. What do you think they need to hear, see, feel to get them to click that inquire, the call to action, contact you? That's really the most important thing. But in general, I think it's a combination of, if you're a planner, it's a combination of people photos and decor photos. I don't think just having decor photos is good for a planner. If it's a decor company, I really think it can be more about the decor than it is about the people. If it's a photographer, it's almost exclusively about the people. So it
Mhm.
depends on who you are, but knowing your ideal customer is really important. And if there's someone in the industry that you aspire to be like, look at what their website is. If you want to be a destination planner, Michelle Rago is a
Yeah.
great wedding destination planner to look at. If you want to be doing these beautiful outdoor tented weddings, look at what Lynn Easton is doing. If you want to be doing celebrity events, go look at some celebrity planner websites. But the most important thing is, who do you want to attract? And then build that experience around those people.
Got it. Got it. Do you know of any apps or websites that are good for crowdsourcing photos from an event?
I have not used any because we're all about professional photos, so we don't allow for the crowd. We don't allow for iPhone photos. But
Okay.
I always have thought, and I can get back to you guys on, I've always thought that someone would make it easier. I think Instagram has tried to do that, like, share all your photos from an event and like you can kind of
Mhm.
crowdsource them together. Do you know of any, Nora? Because I don't
So
know.
I'm looking on my phone right now. There's one called Never Miss Moments.
Yeah.
I've never used them, so I cannot speak to them, but I've gotten targeted on Instagram and multiple people have sent it to me. So
Yeah.
try that one. There's also, the Spot My Photos
Yes.
guys.
And that's a
They're
different way
incredible.
to collect the photos, which I really like. So Spot My Photos, they work with a lot of photographers. It's a technology where the photographer for your event, obviously this is more for corporate, but I think it could be interesting for wedding. But
Yeah.
for wedding, the photographer wants to control a little bit more about the editing of the photos before they go out. But for corporate events like Party Slate has, they have photo recognition of people's faces. And once you put your name in, like you just got tagged, all the photos from the rest of the night that you're in will be automatically sent to you. I really
It's
love that.
very cool. It's
I
very
love,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah. And then you don't have to do anything. It automatically comes to you. If you want it,
yes,
great. If you don't, that's
yeah.
fine
We've done
too.
that at a few of our events and it's been
Yeah,
very
it's been super
exciting.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last question. As a stationer, many photographers forget to include us or even give us photos. So I've become accustomed to starting to make my own flat lays. Wow. Do
Yeah.
I hire an actual photographer? What happens when my clients aren't working with a planner?
That's a really good question. I'm not an expert at the flat lays and how that all works, but
Mhm.
um I always believe like relationship building is everything. And so if you could work with the photographer to do it, it's obviously much cheaper to do it, but sometimes I've heard it's just too hard the day of the event to get it all collected. So I don't
Mhm.
really have a good answer on that one.
Yeah, a lot of photographers will also take the invitation suite before or after and shoot it with some of the florals or a pattern from the wedding or something. So it's not necessarily done on site because they can take a lot of time.
Yes.
But I would save your time and money and just try to create a relationship with the photographer that's
I think.
already
Yeah.
shot it because you're redoing something that's already been done by a professional. Um, so I think you just need to be consistent and keep kind of nudging and giving them a reason
Yeah.
to contact you
It's
rather
all
than
about
going out and
relationship
hiring
building.
someone.
Yeah. And like, what can
Exactly.
you do for that photographer? Are you, hey, I'd love to do invitations if you have any private events coming up. Like, I think it's all about like, what can you do for each other? I personally think hiring another photographer to do those, it seems like a lot. It could be expensive, but don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see them.
Yeah. And I know, like, again, the publishers really love those photos. So if you're going to get
Right.
a magazine, they really love to see the suite and of all the touch points and everything. So that's important. But, I don't know how important it is for social media. I'm not sure. I think, yeah, I think they probably know, like, what are you getting the most engagement with on Instagram? Like, do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right, though. The last several years, I would say invitation suites
Yeah.
and shots of those are a requirement to even
Yeah.
consider getting published.
Yeah,
So
you
they
just, and you just
are
got to know what
very
your odds are,
important.
like how important it is when they come into your office. Are we doing a Zoom, or what you need? Is it
Yeah.
more that flat lay that's important, or is it more really being able to see examples that inspire them? I
Mhm.
don't know. I'm not an expert
Yeah.
in that area. I have to admit when I don't know, so I'm sorry.
You're an expert in a lot.
Okay.
This has been so amazing. I've loved picking your brain and seeing you. Of course, you're one of my favorite people. You know that.
Back at you.
Well, thanks. So hopefully we'll get to see each other soon at a conference. There are so many good ones coming up.
Yes.
So everyone, please follow Julie and Party Slate on Instagram. Would love to hear your feedback and see what you thought of all of her tips and tricks that she shared. And make sure to check out our next webinar, which is next month with Lori and Chrissy from the Certified Wedding Planner Society. And we're talking all about the true cost of education. So
Thank you
thank
for
you
having
again,
me.
Julie. Good to see you. Thanks
See you.
everyone for joining us and stay tuned for next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.